You have the State Independent Electoral Commission.
Yes.
They're supposed to be independent, but lots of people have said they are never independent.
In fact, they should be scrapped. They should be scrapped. There should be just one body. You see,
but the same lawmakers are kicking against that.
Look at what's happening. The lawmakers kicked against their own freedom from being under the control of their state government. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that only the federal lawmakers seem to be free now. Do you understand me? So, we need, definitely state INEC should be scrapped. Look at all the elections. Look at what happened in Kwara State.
But you know, this is the point you're raising, because, I mean, yes, now we've talked about SIEC. And then you talk about the same local government people who rejected autonomy.
Yes.
And tomorrow, if these leaders are to be faced at another crop of leaders coming, they tend to do the same thing.
No, it's not so. It's not so. I want to say this. When Gombe State was created out of Bauchi State, and they were lucky to get Danjuma Goje. Now, everybody says PDP is bad, this, that. But somehow in Gombe State, they elected Danjuma Goje. And truly, Danjuma Goje transformed Gombe State. Look at what's happening in Edo State. It's the same people that we are being placed before. In some places, the people get it right, and their lives are transformed. Look at what's happening in Lagos State.
In terms of the local government scenario,
yes,
year in, year out, new people come, old people go,
yes,
and the same problem persists. And they come from amongst us, the leaders.
Yes.
Year in, year out, governors come, governors go. They come from among us. We complain of the same things. Year in, year out, presidents come, presidents go. They come from among us. We complain of the same thing. It's a cycle. How do we break it?
And that's what I said about INEC. You see, if we get our elections right, it's natural selection. That's just it. If we can get our elections right, our problems will solve themselves maximum 3 cycles.
Some people will not agree with you. I mean, some people believe that until they have room for independent candidates, that, you know, even the electoral process itself might be a fraud. Because
well, it's still part of
INEC doesn't really have a say in terms of who's thrown up. I mean, from the primaries, here you are talking about how the people wanted Festus Keyamo, you know, and somehow, you know, he didn't scale through his party primaries, or he asked to withdraw, or, you know, the story is still a little controversial, you know, about how things played out.
Yes.
But we do know that within his party, I mean, the APC, he just wasn't thrown up as the candidate, you know, to run. But assuming there was, you know, independent candidature.
Exactly.
Chances are that, you know, he might have been able to run by himself, and then we can assess his strength at the polls. So now that we do not have control over what happens within the parties, what do you suggest to Nigerians to do in terms of seeing who actually emerges as the candidate they eventually vote for?
You see, when I was introduced, you said chairman of National Transformation Party. INEC said National Transformation Party and quite many others were not on ground enough to be recognized as political parties when were deregistered. If you remember Mimiko in Ondo State, I'm trying to answer this question, and I'm using facts. Mimiko was in PDP, a minister, when the elections were coming. He decided to run for governorship in Ondo State. And the president at the time, this is the same thing about the party's stronghold and the party's desire to be the one bringing out who the candidate is, against the will of the people. When Mimiko resigned, luckily for him, there was a Labour Party, a small, insignificant party that he was able to get onto, and they gave him the governorship ticket. And the people gave Mimiko their votes, and he won that election. And now he has been returned a second time. That's the same thing happening everywhere. I believe very strongly that the whole electoral laws and process need to be reviewed. The last Electoral Act said, if a party's candidate does not win any seat, that party should be deregistered. Now, that talks of war at the elections, because you then decide that you must win. If you do not win an election, your party is going to be deregistered, so whatever you need to do, you must do to win an election. That's not how it's supposed to be. And another thing is, look at some of these parties. Even to get the nomination form in their parties, you have to pay close to 5 million naira. At the last elections, we had, I can tell you of one particular person, a retired principal, a lady, in one of the constituencies. As far as I'm concerned, she was the best candidate in that election. She lost. On the day of election, people were sharing money in obscure places. I was monitoring with her in that place. And we will go to the police, you say, well, they are not here, they are not disturbing the election. But you could see the signs of what was going on. And as long as that is happening, see, the whole electoral process, it requires us, the elites, it requires us to be involved, to be interested. And more than that, the laws themselves, the laws should be such that it gives room, one, for independent candidates, it gives room for parties that you call small to survive. Because that's the closest place from where people who are credible, who are not rich, can come on the ticket and canvass votes.
And that's where we'll have to end it. We're really out of time. Thank you for coming on. Emmanuel Mock is of the Transparency Watch Initiative.